Hey guys, welcome back to Music Talk with John. It's been a while. Been a while since I've done a video, and been a while since I've been out here doing this, walking around. Today was actually kind of nice. The humidity's not too bad, and the sun's going down over there, right over there. So I figured it'd be a nice time for a little walk and talk. We haven't done this in a while. Life's just been very, very busy. So this channel is more about just, if I feel like talking about something, I'm going to get up and talk about it. I'm not worried about subs anymore or anything like that. I'm just enjoying talking to myself. And if you guys want to listen, that's awesome. If you want to comment, that's awesome too. So I got inspired by Glen Kellaway. I'm just watching here because I'm about to hit the tracks. And I just liked one of the videos he just put out. He's putting them out every day. If it's Glen Kellaway, was it From the Basement or In the Basement? I forget the name. But yeah, I just liked what he did. I think I've done a video like it before, but it was more like I'm showing you my room and talking about how my records are organized. But he brought up some interesting points, and I have some comments about some of his, I guess, predicaments or whatever issues he had when it came to organizing. And yeah, I can get like him too, where you get that OCD kicks in when you're trying to organize something and you overthink stuff. So I try to keep it down to basics. So anyway, the three areas he touched on I thought were good, and I couldn't really think of anything else to expand on. It was basically alphabetical order. Oh, there's somebody back there. Alphabetical order. I think what he was getting at was artists from popular bands. So if you have a band, and then a very popular band, and then you have artists that break out from that and have their own careers, how do you do that? Do you include it or not, kind of thing? And then genre, how do you do that? And I know some people that don't even break it down by genre. So it's just all a preference, right? How you know, when a collection gets big, you want to be able to access something pretty quickly, and you got to remember, where did I put that album? Now for me, it's easy. If I really forget, I just go to my spreadsheet and I just look. I say, oh, it's under this category here. Boom, I go and get it. But how do you get it organized to make the spreadsheet? And that's what this is. So first is alphabetical order. I do all of my stuff last name first, and then the first name. I know some people that do by first name, but it's how I organize everything. Whether I have books, authors, you know, I go by last name first. And I do the same thing with my music. Hey, and I'm just going to step in here real quick because I realized I was editing the video, and I realized I'd left out the part where after I put the artists in alphabetical order, last name first, I put them in, the records are in chronological order. I put the release date, and if there's any live albums or like radio broadcast albums or anything, it's a specific date where the performance happened. I fit that in between stuff. So I put the live stuff where the actual live performance is, because I like to have it in an order where it was released, basically where the artist was at that time. So I like to have it when it was released. Even if an album is released, like a jazz album's released, let's say sometimes 10 years, 20 years later, right? I look to see when it was recorded, and I fit it into the collection where it was in that space and time. So I like to have everything in my collection where it's when it happened, you know. So if they're younger or if they're older, so I like to kind of have it in that order as it was released or recorded. So I forgot about that part. So anyway, back to the video. When it comes to bands though, the word "the" is invisible, so I always go with that first word after "the." So that's how I do those. So the Beatles are just Beatles, and I always forget if it's the Rolling Stones or Rolling Stones. I always get that one mixed up. I should know that by now. But anyway, yeah, so like, and then like you got to know the band name, even if it sounds like a person's name, or is it a band? You know, like the Alice Cooper thing. It was a band, right? Alice Cooper, so it would be under A. For me and Jethro Tull, it's a band. so it's under J. And then like when you have a featured artist, but it's like named after them, I guess this is a preference thing. The first one I came up with like the Jimi Hendrix Experience. I always just said Jimi Hendrix, you know, but the Jimi Hendrix Experience was the band, but it was Jimi, you know, it's just how I see it. So Jimi Hendrix, that's a guy, and it goes under H because he's the main guy, right? Because if you're following anything, you're following his career, not the other guys. And then you have like blues artists that like to, pardon the pun, but muddy the waters a little bit. Is it a nickname? Is it a name? How do I do this, you know? So my brain bounces back and forth on this. I've talked to friends about it. And like two examples that I come up with is obviously Muddy Waters. And that to me is more of a name, even though it is a nickname, it's more of a name. So I file him under W. But Howlin' Wolf, that feels more like a nickname. Closer to how you would, not to say it's a band name, but closer to how you would view it as almost like a band. It's a name. So I go with H. So I file him under H. So I do it that way. Muddy is under W and Howlin' Wolf is under H. Ooh, a red cardinal just went by. Very cool. And then just quick little music history lesson. I just thought it was cool. Muddy Waters, his real name's McKinley Morganfield, and his grandmother gave him the nickname Muddy because he loved playing in the muddy waters of Deer Creek, which ran near his home, I guess, his childhood home in Mississippi. And then Howlin' Wolf is Chester Arthur Burnett. And as a child, Burnett was nicknamed Wolf by his family after his grandmother would scare him with stories about wolves. Well, that's funny. Then he adapted the professional name of Howlin' Wolf later on. I guess people started calling him that. I don't know the exact history, but a little history behind that. But anyway, then when you get to numbers, 13th floor elevators, it's a number. So anything with a number, what's another one? I know there's another one. But 13th floor elevator, since it's an actual number, it's not 13 spelled out. I put it, I think Glen did this also, as 13. So numbers go before A. So in my alphabetical order, it's numbers in an alphabet. But you have a band named, wait a minute, no, I think Four Non Blondes. I just thought about it. Let me look this up real quick. I think Four Non Blondes is literally a 4, right? Yeah, it is a 4. So, yeah, so Four Non Blondes would go there also. So Four Non Blondes would go before 13th floor elevators because it's in that order. So that's how I would do that. I just caught myself on that one. But if it's a band name, shoot, I can't even think of one now with a number. There's probably tons of them. With a number as the first word in the band name, it would, if it's spelled out, it gets alphabetized underneath that. Oh, he was trying to figure out Manford Man. If you haven't watched the Glen Kellaway video, watch that one.
Manford Man. Do you put it under Manford or Man?
Because wasn't it like Manford Man and Manford Man's Earth Band or whatever? And that's a band name. But I looked at the origin of it, and it was actually, the band was named after the lead singer, Manford Lubowitz, I guess. So I'm going, it's named after a guy, but it's still a band. So my brain was flip-flopping on this. But if it's a band name like Jethro Tull, I could think that was somebody's name, but it wasn't anybody's name in the band, even though this is somebody's name in the band. You know, how do you do it? I'm thinking, well, if it's named after him, but it's still a band, I'm going to go with Manford Man, which wouldn't be too far off anyway, because it starts with M-A-N, both of them. So, right? No. Yeah, they both start that way. I can't think while I'm worried about trains falling up behind me. So anyway, I would put under Manford. I would do Manford as what I filed under, not Man. So there you go, Glenn. That's how I would do it for you if I was organizing Glen Kellaway's music collection. All right, artists from popular bands. This is not too hard for me. So you have like the Beatles, and of course they all had careers, even Ringo. Fleetwood Mac, you had some careers, right? You had Genesis, where you had Breakthrough, 2 big careers out of there. And Pink Floyd. You know, you had 2 pretty big solo careers out of that. The band, unless, no, yeah, no, all this is, I'm thinking if I'm a completist, but it doesn't matter. If I'm a completist like on Pink Floyd is where Pink Floyd goes. I'm not a completist on Roger Waters, but he goes under W. He gets away from Pink Floyd, and Gilmour gets filed under G. That's just how I do it. So anybody else, like Genesis, my Phil Collins stuff is under C, my Peter Gabriel stuff is under G, so on and so on. The only time I include a band with an artist if I am a completist, like Billy Joel. I probably wouldn't own Hassel Records or Attila if I wasn't a Billy Joel fan. So my Billy Joel stuff, like where you have Cold Spring Harbor before that, in my collection, I have the Hassels and Attila, and the Billy Joel stuff starts. Like Clapton. Clapton's a good one. I'm kind of going to be a completist on him, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty much going to be. I think I have everything, really, except for the last one there that I don't care for too much. But I put Derek and the Dominoes where Derek and the Dominoes goes. I put Cream where Cream goes. Because I'm not a completist on Cream. Derek and the Dominoes, they had, one major album and some live stuff. Blind Faith goes under Blind Faith, even though it was a one thing. But I separate that. Even though I'm a completist on him, I don't really put his stuff together. Which is strange, right? I do it with Billy Joel, but not with Clapton. But I don't know. That's just how my mind works. You know? Strange, right? I wonder if there's any 2 music collections that are organized the same way with the same thoughts. I bet you there aren't. It's like a fingerprint. A music collection is like a fingerprint. No 2 are the same. Then we get into genres. And I never really worried about this before because I only listened to pop and rock growing up. But then as I got into vinyl, got a little bit older, I started expanding out. You know, I listened to a little bit of blues, you know, but not too much. I was mostly pop and rock. And I do that now because of its certain mood that it creates. Like jazz is a certain mood, a certain feel, blues, things like that. And sometimes in those genres, like if you have jazz, you kind of forget about some of those artists. Like for me, because that's not my main genre, but I forget some artists. So if I have all my jazz together and I go, I want to listen to something I haven't listened to in the jazz category for a while, there you go. I go through my jazz section. I go, oh, this one. That's right. If I did that with my main collection, I'd lose people. You know, a lot of stuff gets lost in rock and pop. That's the biggest portion of my collection. So stuff does get lost in there. So I kind of do it for that reason too. Especially when I'm still trying to learn jazz and get more familiar with blues and those kind of genres. So my genres in my collection are, well, it's better with the sun right there, huh? Jazz, and this is the order I put in. And I don't know if I said it in the very beginning. Yeah, I did. That my CD collection and my vinyl collection is organized in the same exact way, same exact order. So I go jazz, world music, reggae, vocalists, compositions and soundtracks, R&B, soul, blues, and then pop and rock. So that's how you'll see my collection organized. You're going to have some gray areas in there. Like Glen was saying, what do you do with these artists that skip around genres? Well, if they're skipping around genres, they're going to go into rock and pop. They're just going to go in there. I'm not going to sit there and put one album in one area and one in the other. And nope. They're all over the place. Like, you got Nora Jones, who started more jazz, then she went into she just likes to go where her musical heart leads her, so she just goes, even though she's on some of the stuff, I think maybe most of her stuff's still on Blue Note, but she's all over the place. So I put her in my rock and pop. Same thing with Tom Waits, even though I don't know what category you put his later stuff in. It's different, right? Tom Waits, if you know where he went with his career. So I would just put him in rock and pop, and he just changed his styles through the career, and but I don't have a problem with artists. If you say Miles Davis, you think jazz, right? And I know he changed his styles through the years, but he primarily was rooted in jazz. He was a jazz musician, so he stays in jazz no matter what he does. And the same thing with like Coltrane. Even though I don't get his really abstract spiritual stuff, I don't collect that. But if I had it, it would still stay under jazz, because that's what they're kind of known for. These are the jazz greats, right? And how they pioneered jazz and how they changed jazz. So they're still jazz. Even blues guys that explore into rock a little bit, still blues. The only thing I don't put in my blues though is rock bands that are blues based. That's not blues to me. That I would never do a video and they would be in there. If one slipped in, I'd be surprised. But my blues is true blues artists. You know, John Lee Hooker, Muddy, Howlin' Wolf, Albert Collins, Albert King, all the Kings, all those guys. That's blues. Okay, if it's blues-based rock and roll, it's still rock and roll. It's a feel. I want that in the rock stuff. I don't want it. I want a good blues album. I want it from somebody who feels the blues. So that's how I do it. The only things that kind of get blurred in there is with the compilations and soundtracks. If I'm a completist on somebody and they do a soundtrack album like Tom Waits has, I think it was it called One from the Heart, where he did songs with Crystal Gale, and it was a soundtrack that goes in my Tom Waits collection. Eric Clapton has a really good soundtrack that a lot of people don't know about that I love. It's called Homeboy, and there are other artists on it, but it's mostly Eric Clapton instrumentals. And is there one? Yeah, it's all instrumental on that one. Or the Rush soundtrack. I don't have that on vinyl, but that's in with my Clapton stuff, because it's all Clapton stuff, all instrumental stuff, except for like 3 songs at the end. So that's where the gray comes in, and that would go into my Clapton collection, because I associate with that with him. When I think of that album, I think of him, and I don't go, okay, it's a soundtrack. So that's pretty much how it goes. The other thing I was going to say, the only distinction I have between my R&B and soul is R&B is, in my collection, it's all Ray Charles. I don't put anybody else in there. I don't in what the music that I own, I don't have anybody that I compare with like the style of Ray Charles, and it's not soul, it's just that rhythm and blues, and he screams rhythm and blues, right? Soul is all the Aretha and Otis Redding and, you know, those people where it's that soul, right? Like, I don't put Stevie Wonder in R&B or soul. I put him in pop and rock, because he had more of that pop sense, rock sense, even though he was influenced by different things. I put him in the pop and rock stuff. So anyway, I guess it's all depends on how your mind works, how it works for you, how you view the artist. I know people are perfectly comfortable with talking about blues artists, and including, you know, with some of the like Paul Butterfield Blues Band and things like that in their blues, Johnny Winter, things like that, even Gallagher, Rory Gallagher. I would not put them in my blues. I would put them somewhere else. So it is all, you know, state of mind, how you think of it when you hear it, and what helps your mind remember where things are, right? So anyway, let me know what you thought, if you do things similar to me or way away from me. And let me know if you've done any videos on this. I'd like to see it, because I'm very interested in how people do organize themselves so that they can just go. I know some people that don't even organize. I don't know how they do that. They just completely just put their albums randomly and they just go and grab one. I'm like, but what if you want to hear that album? How the hell do you know where to find it? You know, and they're like, that's where the fun begins, somebody told me. I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun. That sounds like a waste of time to me, but you do your thing, man. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but I had a lot to say about this. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are doing well. Try to get some more walk and talks going. So as long as I have something to talk about, I'll be filming while I'm out here. Anyway, you guys take care. And until next time, you enjoy your music, all right? Bye.